Well, g'day friends, welcome back to New Dollarton. In the last episode, we built fake Manhattan, 60,000 people all placed onto the one island all at once, and considering they have the most basic of infrastructure, we have just a couple of bridges, a couple of tunnels, and I think that we're doing pretty well. I mean, the city is, I wouldn't say it's thriving, but it's definitely pretty stable. However, as much as I'm going to be improving things today, I am also going to be taking some things away and making things a little bit worse for the sake of realism. In terms of improving, we will add some public transport, which I think is going to be really nice. I reckon we get some sort of subway network between New Dimesburg and fake Manhattan. We definitely need it at the moment. We only have a highway connection and it gets a little bit bumper to bumper around here. Yeah, there we go. A bit bumper down there. And it also is very much affecting the way that traffic is flowing in New Dimesburg. So I think that would be very much appreciated. Also, I did say I was going to make things a little bit worse. I'm going to try a mod about halfway through this episode. This mod will increase the amount of people driving and it'll decrease the amount of people walking. I feel like people should be driving and catching public transport a whole lot more in this game, and at the moment they are walking pretty long distances to work, to the shops, and that's just gotta stop. So let's start with the subway. I have been planning for this for quite a while now. I know exactly where it's gonna go. It's probably not the subway though you're expecting. Okay, so I know I said I had a really clear idea of what I wanted to do for this subway system. I had no intention of demolishing that rail yard. So here we are, I'm already going completely off track. Before I get started with any more building, I just want to say that this is not the subway that you're probably thinking of. You know, that classic New York style subway, that metal box of a rail car, all those old stations and that whole messy network. I love all this. But the network, the subway in City Skylines 2 is not this. So I feel like I gotta wait until we have the right assets to really do this network justice because I truly love this. Instead, I'm gonna be building Path. This is another network of subway that you can find throughout New York, and it mostly connects up Jersey City and all of this whole area and connects up to Manhattan. I now have to figure out, because what's going to happen is this subway network is actually going to reuse a lot of the old rail network that runs through New Dimesburg, because we actually have this whole section that is abandoned and I'd like it to connect up so that we can actually make use of it. And I've got some ideas. I think it'd be really great to have a station that sat somewhere between here, using either this line or this line. And the rail line isn't all abandoned. We do have a section that is being used by the freight service or the cargo trains coming into the port. Do also need access to this train line, so I do need to make sure that this connection is still usable for freight. So logically, I think it would make sense to turn this into our new subway. And this one here can continue to be for the rail for all of our freight, even though it's pointing directly into our subway yard. Which is wonderful. But here's the double kicker. I think I'd actually like to have a custom cargo station here as well. So, you know what? Let's just, oh boy. This is already snowballing. I bet you all saw this coming. A bit rough around the edges, but we are making some good progress. I think that this is going to be our permanent location for the subway yard, and I do like the way that it does fit alongside this subway line, which I think will continue to drag out and connect up to something else a little later. For now, I'm just going to leave it like that because there's no point dragging it out and worrying about that. It's a bit of a shame that you can't convert, and it makes sense, I do understand why, but you know, I'm trying to convert our old rail line into a subway line and you can't do that. Again, makes sense, but it makes things a little bit tricky. So I think that this is permanent. I think that a couple of things are permanent down here. I do like our roads and bridges. When I say I like the bridges, they are fine. They're going to be something that gets changed when we get some sort of custom bridges, because I would love some drawbridges. The ones down here in Jersey City just look so great. And that is the style that I'm going for, but clearly not really achievable at the moment. So they're kind of just there doing their thing, and that's fine. I'm always a fan of power lines, so I'm going to continue to drag this out, and we might just do something like this for now, and we'll drop him underground, I think, just because I don't really know where else he's going to go. Actually, what do I mean I don't know where it's going to go? It's going to go towards a power station, you dingus. There we go. And if you can't already tell, this is a total dumping ground. I know that industry is going to sit out this way, but in terms of what it's going to look like, I'm kind of just waiting a little bit longer until I'm ready to come and truly flesh out what this is going to look like. But kind of just like following the theme of not really knowing where things are going to go. And I know it's super lazy. I just don't know where else I'm going to put it. That's where it's going to sit for now. I've got some more important things to think about. So I've started to drag out this subway line. It's going to stretch all the way through here. I have to navigate it all along this train line after demolish all that train line and re-drag it out. But I'm going to just put a pin in it, at least for this little section, because this is going to be kind of challenging to figure out where that station's going to go and how it's going to connect up to these roads. Instead, I need like a confidence boost. I am going to go over to the final stop in New Dimesburg. And that is, of course, the central station, which is, there's some problems around here at the moment, if you can't tell. Geez, let me just brighten up those shadows. It's a little bit strong down here. Now, I actually think that creating a subway terminal in our central station is going to be the easy part. I think that it's going to be a really nice, easy fit just in this little spot. I'm going to go ahead and just demolish a couple of these, and we'll just size them up. Because I have thought about this before. This guy there, oh, it's pretty close. Like, really close. Just need to remove a couple more lines. Oh, still a little bit big. Maybe we could... Oh, I don't really want to move this too much, but perhaps we could use move it and just shift him ever so slightly. I know you're worried about those white things. Don't worry, what? I'm just going to show you something. Just going to smooth them out and bam, they're gone. But basically, I need to squeeze this guy in here and leave enough space so that we have enough clearance to potentially drag out our subway line to maybe use one of these networks. Let's just keep moving this. Hello, you little white things, little cheeky guys. Because what I could just do right now is I could just plop it and it'd be connected to this road. But my... I don't know what it is. There's something that just makes me go, that's great and all, but I want people to enter through our station and then walk through and then go into the subway station. I don't really want them going from this part. It's so dumb, but it matters. It matters to me. So what I need is an invisible road that people can also walk along. I think what I need is a pedestrian street, because that way I can... that way people can walk along it and I can place buildings on it. However, it is a little bit too large for my liking. So I'm hoping maybe with the road builder tool, maybe I could potentially shrink it down a little bit. Let's see what happens. What if I just remove a couple of these things? Okay, it's shrinking. All right, now it's only for pedestrians, but the question is, am I able to place anything else on it? Oh, I can. Interesting. But I reckon this is the building that is definitely finishing off our central station, which has been unfinished for a while, you know? A lot of people have been saying, when are you going to finish it off? You kind of abandoned it. I totally did, because I've been waiting for this moment. Someone did mention doing this when I did build the central station, and I always thought that was a great idea. So something that I'm really loving is the same color of the roof. It's almost So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go back over to this building, and we'll paste them over there, and that's pretty similar. Ooh, and maybe these roofs too. Like that? Ooh. Ooh, that was not the plan, but it works. What do you reckon? I feel like I like the fact that it's all the same color, but then maybe this is like an addition that's not the same color. What do you reckon? This next part, I think, is going to be really difficult. Let me explain the idea behind all this. So this is our subway connection to Central Station. Then it's going to dip underground and go over to Manhattan. What I need to figure out now is I kind of need to justify the reason why this is an elevated, or at least a ground level station, because I don't think it really needs to be. If it was going to be an underground connection, which the plan was for this to go underground and connect up to one of these abandoned lines, either this one or this one. I'm leaning towards this one, but it connects up here. This was going to go above ground and then dip down and go underneath all of this and connect up to Central Station. And the other station was going to be here, which I think is a pretty good distance from the two. But it's honestly a little bit hard to justify when it kind of just like rises up at this little section just to hit up this. So this is going to be my justification behind all of that. The reason why this is at ground level, and it's only a slight justification, but I think it kind of works. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have two lines of subway, one of which is going to go underground, and I think it'll be this line. I think this will be disconnected and it'll go underground, or maybe here. I haven't quite figured that out. And it'll go over underneath New Dimesburg and connect up to this line. Let's see if this is gonna work. I'm gonna drop the elevation, yeah, just a little bit, so it's just underground, and I'll build that little section. Then we'll pop him up, so it is this nice little retaining wall one, like that. Yeah, like him. And then we'll raise him up so it's at ground level. I did turn off snapping because it was causing some issues. I'm also using the two-way subway track because I do think that we're going to need it. And look, it's very tight. It's wanting me to go elevated because it is so tight around here, but I'm not going to. I'll just drop it here, and it's not perfect, but I will change it with move it, and it's still not perfect, but I am going to change it with move it. But already, that is kind of fun. And then I'm gonna have to try and shoehorn this other network alongside here. I really like this little thing, but I don't think I can keep it if I'm going to be putting... Yeah, I don't think I can keep it. That'll have to go too. Okay, messing up my own logic here. Let me explain something that I didn't explain at the very beginning. I've been calling this a subway, but I am not treating this as a subway. I'm treating this more as a service that is the same as like a rail service, but it is something that is like just part of the city. Whereas this is like Amtrak. This is something that is intercity, connects up multiple towns, goes quite far, limited stops. In fact, I think that this is going to be pretty much its only stop. If you were going to get the other train into the city, you would use this one, goes underground, goes under the river, connects up elsewhere. This might take the long route around to somewhere like Brooklyn, but this is definitely something that is more of an express, long distance type of thing. Because I deleted this train line because I felt like they shouldn't cross, but I actually have no problem with them crossing. In fact, I better have no problem with them crossing because they're about to. Geez, nothing pretty, but it is getting there for sure. I don't love these yellow pieces, these little yellow rods, because, or do I love them or do I not? I actually can't really figure it out. Let's just drag out another bridge. Let's finish this bad boy. This is, oh baby, this is a bit of a problem. Oh, they don't want to cross. Colossal Order, you know it. You know you don't want me to cross them. But I'm gonna. Ha 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 ha. Alright. I think that this alone is going to be a deal breaker. It just doesn't look right, and I don't like the fact that they cross. So, that has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. You know, because I'm not about to just move this. I feel like this needs to stay where it is, even though this is this is a subway yard, so I could probably just turn this into a subway and make it all part of the same thing. No, I'm not going to do that, because I actually have a better idea, and this has only come up because I've had this problem. But I actually think it's going to work so much better. Disconnect this and elevate just a little bit, like that. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I am going to remove this road here. I just think that we can totally rethink the way that all this works. I mean, this down here clearly doesn't function very well. It hasn't functioned from day one. And I think it's pretty clear the reasons why it hasn't. So we're gonna fix that in just a moment. But I removed that because I actually wanted to extend out our rail yard a little bit more, give some more space for it, just because these trains are fairly long. I mean, that's a shortened version of it. And I just think that our maintenance yard really doesn't reflect the size of the train. So we're going to extend it out a little bit more. It'll still be fairly small, but I think we could do with a little bit of extra space. So what am I trying to do here? Of course, all the land is totally messed up. So let's just flatten it out a bit more, and we will give a bit more space to that rail yard. And you know what? Let's just admit that mistakes were made down here, and let's make some changes. This is the general idea, however, execution-wise, not my finest. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a bumpy ride for pretty much everybody, and maybe a little bit dangerous for our motorists. So I will smooth that out with Move It, which is going to be very useful for this. Hopefully it's going to be a nice smooth sailing experience. You're probably still wondering what this is all about. Where am I going to go with this? Is going to go over here. It is in fact not going to be going over there. The idea instead is this metro line, this subway, this train line, whatever we're going to call this thing, is instead going to go around here and connect up to this line. This makes so much more sense. So originally, the plan was to go through one of these tunnels and we connect up to other places out this way, maybe going out towards this section. Instead, we're going to go this way, because we actually have this abandoned train line, which I am also going to connect up our light rail system to. The light rail is going to stretch around here. We'll go underneath these tracks, connect up to this line, go around here, and then actually snake its way around the coastline along the waterway of this little section around Lawrenceville. But we do have another train line that we can use. So in terms of connecting up our city, we have already one established that is going to be going out towards this industrial section and towards where the airport will be eventually. So that side of things is pretty well covered. And then the other side of it is going to be out this way. So I think that makes way more sense in terms of connecting people up. We also have the opportunity to maybe even drag out another line out this way. So we do have lots of possibilities. And I like the fact that we are using this train line, because I actually had no plans for this. I just kind of thought I'd keep it abandoned, but this is going to work very nicely. But to say this episode has taken a complete left turn would be a big understatement. I had no intention of working down here. I had no intention of working on this road. I didn't plan on working on this line down here either. I really thought I'd be over on Manhattan side of things at this point, but here we are. So I am, in fact, being very particular about all of these nodes and how smooth it all is, because I don't think I'm going to be back down here. I would like it to be pretty much finished up in this episode. And every time I move a node or drag something else out, I have to replace out my catenaries and also remove some of the ones that I don't want to see. As you can see, it's just an absolute cluster of just wires and catenaries, which I don't love. So what I'm going to do is I want to get this absolutely perfect, because I don't want to be dragging out these things again. The next time I want to work down here is when I change these train lines to some sort of custom one, or if we get something that is more detailed. That is the next time I'm down here. Mark my words. But for now, I am going to make this as good as it gets, and then we will connect it up and we'll drag out these catenaries. And what was the plan for this episode again? Because I am now working on a train line, and this was definitely not the intention. Okay, I think that is about as good as it gets. I have spent a fair amount of time smoothing all of this out. In City Skylines 1, we've moved it. We had the function to be able to basically grab two nodes and make it so that they just have the most smoothest transition between them. You can't do that just yet. I mean, Move It is updating every single time I open up the game, so I think we're not too far away from having those features, but we do have some really great ones, like being able to select a node and making it so that it aligns up to another node. So I might grab these two and I'm going to press Control H and we'll do that one there. And that's pretty good. I mean, that is more than pretty good. That's actually pretty wonderful. And I can do, you know what? I actually reckon that's probably pretty good. So that's it. I think we are looking at a much smoother transition right there. What are all these things? What is it? Riverbed texture, I thought I had that one. I'm going to remove all those, by the way, and we're going to clean up this whole section. Okay, now that is as smooth as it's going to get. I'm not going to move too many more of these nodes because I think that is actually looking pretty nice. Now, in the past, when I removed these catenaries, I used Better Bulldozer, and we used the sub-building elements to remove those catenaries, which is excellent. However, then when you start moving the nodes, they come back. I'm going to try something. I think with Road Builder, even though these aren't roads, I believe that if I select one of these are the catenaries. Can I just delete them? Oh, okay, that's gone. And this one, and they're gone. While I'm at it, I'm going to reduce the speed to, let's say, I don't know. I don't really want them flying through here, so let's do 50 kilometers an hour. And then let's do the same treatment for our single line. Remove these, add in our shoulder. And that's just cleaned things up so beautifully. So there's still a couple little gaps and there are still some catenaries in some weird places, but I'm gonna move on because I would like to update that at the very end just to make things look just a little bit more finished. All right, something's come up. I've been experimenting, I've been playing around, and I'm gonna do something, and it's pretty left field, it's pretty wild, but I think it's necessary, and it's gonna completely blow out this episode, which was not intentional. I had something kind of different planned. Now we're gonna completely make a custom rail yard, and it's gonna be lovely. But I want you just to have a little look at this, because I'm about to change a big chunk of it. A part of it that I really love, but I think we can actually do something a whole lot better. Because I built this rail yard and this train station a while back now, and I was pretty happy with it when I first built it, but as the city has grown and developed, it's always felt a little bit small. And a lot of people did mention this when I first built it, but we're still early days, and I think we're still experimenting with the game. But now that we have developed a little bit more of it, I do feel like we could make some changes that are going to make some big differences to the city. Now, this maintenance yard is only for showsies. It doesn't do anything. It is purely there just for looks. But I think we can actually make one that is functional, and we can make one that makes sense with the subway network. So, this is what I found on Paradox Mods, kind of by accident. I wasn't really looking for anything like this, but it did pop up. It is a small subway depot, and it's kind of similar to the one that I built. And of course it is a little bit bigger, which is good, but then also bad because it does mean that we do need to find the space for it. But this is functional. This means that vehicles are actually spawned here, which I believe is a total game changer. I think this is something that we definitely need. And you know what? Let's just commit. Let's place this thing down. But first, let's demolish all this great stuff. All right. No, absolutely not. I mean, yes, we are going to do that for sure, but not today. This is not the episode to detail and reconfigure our entire central station, because that's what this is. If I was to place down this maintenance shed, then I need to then figure out this road network. We need to connect up this better. We need to figure out our buses. We have to probably detail up our station, do our train network, and where the subway is going to go. It's just a whole other thing. Not to mention that we need to connect this to the road, which is now on the other side. It's a whole other rabbit hole, which is why episodes take so long. It's because I start something, it goes down a complete different route, and I end up detailing and working on nodes and little bits of detail and networks. It's a whole thing. But I've got to stick with what we started. I mean, we're meant to connect up our fake Manhattan, and we're kind of like not doing a very good job of that, because we have no stations except for this one, which is not even connected properly, if you haven't noticed. And of course, because it's got no connection, so of course it doesn't. So yeah, this is like a sneak peek into next week, which is what we'll do. We'll do this in the next episode, and we'll just make our central station and all the network of rail lines just truly amazing. That is next week. For this week, we need to just focus on getting trains in and out of Manhattan and seeing what that looks like. Jeez, all right. And I've also made a mess of all these roads. So let's reconnect up, and it won't be truly amazing. It'll just be pretty average. And next week, it'll all be about the central station. And it's going to be amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Maybe we'll do this guy down here too. But yeah, we've made a mess, of course. But it's got to be a next week job. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And let's figure out how this will look. For that section, I'm happy with it being just a single rail line as it goes underground. Or this section will also be just a one-way track, not a one-way track, a single rail one. Like all of this can all be just single track, and then we'll open it up to a double as we creep into the station. I'm gonna start them around here. We'll go underground like that. and then we'll start raising them up because I do really love this retaining wall, and I just want to get a good idea of where that retaining wall will sit. We'll make it so that it is maybe about that far in, and then, oh, that's kind of nice. Maybe stops being, oh, actually, hold on, we've got a little bit of extra space here. Let's see how much of a clearance we have. Now, it's not going to like going over these little tracks here, even though they're abandoned. So I think I'll grab their nodes, because I do want to keep them there. We'll pop them over here for now. And I've just made a pretty nice smooth transition down so that's not so abrupt. And I think that is looking pretty nice. Also, that tunnel, very nice as well. I am very tempted just to add in a little fence just to divide the abandoned line from this new metro, subway, whatever we're going to call it. But I think I'll just leave it at that. Because these are abandoned train lines, I don't think they're going to have any of these little stoppy things here. So I'm just going to remove that. I feel like that is pretty sweet. Let's add a station. Now, I haven't really thought too much about this station. I think this is going to be purely for functionality rather than doing any sort of detail work. So let's just see what we can come up with and getting people to even use it in the first place, because it is going to be down on this little section. Oh god, that one's not going to work. I mean, that one is such a great shape, but of course it is elevated, so I am not going to use that one. Also not that one either, even though I feel like that is such a great looking station. I might use this one. I mean, that's a pretty good fit. That could fit right there. Let's just plop him. Yeah. What have you snapped to? I mean, I can't say it's exactly what I wanted. How about if I use move it once again for the win? We'll drop him down into the ground at ground level at least. Oh, look at that little thing. That's kind of cool. Oh, I see what the problem is. It is not exactly a flat piece of land, so it is being a little bit awkward with where it sits. And I am also a little bit nervous that it hasn't plopped down properly because of the bridges. It's kind of clipped into them. So let's remove all obstacles. I'm going to use move it once again just to drag that node away because I don't want any complications. Once again, let's try this. That looks a little bit better. Okay, this time I have turned off snapping and I want it to be, I don't know if I can lower him. Yeah, I can't just drop him into the ground. Unfortunately, I think he's kind of connecting himself to that road there, which is causing it to be slightly raised up. And then when I lower him down with move it, then it doesn't like it at all. Although I think that is working a bit better than the last one. So, okay. That's a bit of a success. And it's still technically connected to that road, which is okay for now. I think I'm gonna probably move it though, with move it. And I reckon that's going to work just fine because it is connected to this road, so I don't think people are going to have a problem getting down here. However, I think once we get people actually using it, I would prefer to see if we can connect it to one of these bridges. Perhaps we'll do that today. Perhaps not. Let's see what happens. That's it. I mean, we've got the connection to our subway yard. It is not an outside connection just yet, but that's fine. We have our one station that is probably going to work, and then another station that is definitely not going to work. So let's make sure that this definitely works. You know, it might in fact be connected to this road here. So I'm going to press play. Hopefully I haven't caused any problems elsewhere. Obviously our buses are totally messed up, and yep, that's gone. Wonderful. Yeah, I know, guys. I know. I've caused problems. I know. So that's connected to the road, but I don't want people connecting to the road and getting into the subway station. So perhaps if I drag out a pedestrian path, maybe that will encourage people to use this path instead of connecting to the road. I don't know if this will work. I guess we need to turn on our subway station in order to actually see people use it. But let's just give them a couple of options and we'll see what happens. I don't have a huge amount of faith in this, but I guess we can always test him out and see what happens. But I don't know. I kind of feel like we might not be doing the right thing here. And you see this little door? Oh, wouldn't it be nice if people use that? I know that... Oop, what did I just do there? I'm sure it's fine. I like that. Will people like that? That is the question. And it obviously doesn't look great, but I will detail it up once we connect everything together. Speaking of that, let's drag it over to Manhattan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it so simple. And by simple, I mean I'm just going to drag out one line. It's going to go all the way over. And I think I'm going to just have a couple of stops. Now, there is a very complex and a very providing subway network throughout Manhattan, but the path is pretty much just a couple of connections to Jersey City, and that's about it. So that's like the extent I'm going to do. I'm not going to give them a huge amount. It's really just going to be a connection from here to over here. And I know I talk a lot about realism, even though I make some very unrealistic choices within my city, but this particular one is not going to be that realistic. We are now going to go underground once again. So basically, if you're following along, we have come from the underground, we've connected up to a ground level station, and then we've got just this short little section to go back underground. That is very unrealistic, and I truly do not love that. It's more about seeing this interaction and the visual of this underground section popping up to this station that is above ground, and I feel like this whole area really just fits in so well with the rest of the station. So I've just needed to justify having this station here in the first place, because I actually think that this totally completes our central station. Whoa, it's gonna be steep. You know what? Nah, I can't do it. No, I've got to rethink this. It can't just pop up just so abruptly and then dip back down underneath what is a massive body of water. No, can't do it. Okay, I've been looking at this screen for about 10 minutes now, and I think I've worked it out. I'm going to place down some subway underground stations, and then I'm going to connect it up. And I think it's going to make sense, but I tell you what, it's probably not going to be the most realistic, but you guys already know that, don't ya? Let's put it maybe here. The real struggle with all this is that I don't know how, and it's purely because of my own fault. It's because I am stubborn, and it's because I want it to look a particular way, but I want this, okay? I want this to jump up and connect up to this. Now, what is the justification behind all of that? I don't know, man. It just does. So my attempt was to create some sort of underground station as well as one up top, so you can, I don't know, maybe there's a reason why it goes up there, I don't know. So I'm going to connect it up, and we'll see what happens. And then I reckon we just make people do less walking. Less walking, people. I'm sick of it. All right, this line is just going to go back and forth. That is the extent of that green line, which is pretty sad. I think we will, I don't think, I know we will have a station out here, but I'm not going to do that just yet. And then this line underground is really nothing special. I mean, we really should probably create a loop, but I don't know. Why am I so against this loop? I can't do it. Not bright green, my friend. I wonder if I can get it looking more like what Path looks like. We kind of got these silver trains, and is that the best we can do? But I think I prefer these colors. This is definitely more realistic. I mean, it looks a million times better than that green one, so I like that. I might keep it like that. Let's see how this goes, because at the moment, I don't even know if some of these platforms are even going to work, or if they're going to even attract people. Let's see what happens. All right. It's a little brief, isn't it? Just a little poke up, and then it's there. Am I being a little bit silly with this? Okay, let's speed through this a little bit. and we'll see if more people end up using it. I really bloody hope so. Okay, friends, a little bit of time has passed and some stuff has happened off camera. We'll actually build this whole little subway station up here, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. It's looking pretty nice, and I've also made a couple little tweaks to the subway network. I have now enabled lazy pedestrians, so people are now doing some less walking, which is great. I don't mind people walking, like I mentioned, but less is great. I've got it set to a few blocks, and I'm half tempted to crank it up to a couple of blocks, but maybe we'll save that for a little bit later on. So yes, some time has passed, and quite a few things have changed. I've also made a little bit of headspace with our tunnel that used to stretch underneath here, and I've decided to part ways with it. But activating lazy pedestrians has definitely put a little bit more pressure on my transportation networks, which is great. And I feel like I'm seeing more people driving around and less people walking, which does make sense. That is kind of the point of the mod, but I feel like I'm seeing that already pretty quickly. Man, the bus network is really, truly feeling a bit more pressure, which is so fine. Let me show you something. Let's just follow this little train traveling up here. And so yes, I did decide to build all this off camera. Still not really sure why I decided to do it that way, but here we are. Some things I'm pretty happy with, some things we could make some improvements. I'm already noticing a couple of little additions that I think we'll make in just a moment, but it's functioning beautifully. So basically a lot of people are walking down this these two pathways down to this little lower section of station, and people are also going through this building. See these guys just walking down there? I feel like that is also pretty lovely. And just the mix of seeing these freight trains rolling past as well, I think is just so much fun. But it was fairly simple to make. We pretty much just have a couple of growables up here. I have just placed them down using plop the growables, just giving a whole lot more control with that, which you just can't do that if you were trying to rely on zoning. So I think this turned out pretty well. I wanted to make sure that we had some commercial down below, and up top these are some office buildings, which is great. A couple of little bits of detail. We do have a little pedestrian path that does stretch from the bridge to this section over here, and people will also use it, which they aren't at the moment, but I've seen a few people wander across, which is pretty cool too. I know I'm overusing these pillars, but I did just place these. I felt like we needed something just to kind of, I don't know. I don't really know what the purpose is behind them. Maybe they're holding up this whole section. Are they a support? I don't really know. And I also don't really care. And I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but I really didn't know what to do with this section, so I have just placed down a whole bunch of little bushes and trees, but I do struggle with the trees in this game because they do look a little bit strange, and they do cast mega shadows, like just pitch black. It's like shadows on top of shadows on top of shadows, and it makes a super shadow, which doesn't really happen in real life, so I wish I didn't do that, but I don't know, here we are. And yeah, that's this section, which I feel like turned out pretty well. And a fair few people are using this subway station, which is also really nice. So, a couple of things that I would like to change. Now that we're seeing a lot more people use our subway network, I reckon that we can make some much bigger improvements. By the way, just check out all these people down here. Yeah, so obviously this is a pretty busy spot. So I think we can manage people a whole lot better, and I've got a couple of ideas. So like I mentioned before, I'm not ultra happy with my network. I haven't done the greatest job. I like some parts of it, but I reckon we can now make some much bigger improvements. Again, this is not going to be the greatest network ever. It's really going to be kind of still the bare bones, but I reckon we can make things just feel like they make a whole lot more sense. Yeah, so I'm going to be putting a subway station within Florence. I feel like that's a pretty big change. I had no intention to do this, but here's my reasoning behind it. I feel like it makes more sense to have a connection from our financial district, from fake Manhattan, going all the way across here, and it's already heading in the direction of Florence. So rather than just like going straight into downtown New Dimesburg, I reckon we make one stop at Florence. The only thing is, it is a slight detour, but I think we can somewhat justify it. Here's the thing as well. In terms of placing it somewhere, I am having a bit of a struggle because we have a couple of really nice ideas. First of all, we do have our light rail network here and it doesn't get a huge amount of usage. I see a fair few people catching the bus, which is fine, but I'd love to see more people catching the light rail. So I think that a connection in Florence to the subway network would be a really nice way of connecting the two types of public transport. So I think keeping it pretty close to one another is a definite. However, the other problem is that this is going to be pretty much all industrial. Pretty much no one is going to be catching light rail to get to, get to this. So the subway is kind of out of the way. I mean, the light rail is also kind of out of the way, which is probably why most people aren't really catching it. So here's my other idea. If we do place down this subway station, I reckon this gives us a good opportunity to also add in a bit more high density. Maybe this is some sort of a new line that was also part of a bit of a, I don't know, maybe like a refurbishment, changing one of the blocks down here into something that is more residential. There's not a huge amount of density within Florence, and I reckon we could use a bit more density. So what I'm going to do is, I think that one of these blocks that is fairly close to the light rail network, I reckon this is going to be repurposed and changed into some high density apartments. And I think that it would make a lot of sense to turn this old junkyard into it. But I'm being a little bit stubborn here and I don't really want to because there's not that many places that are so highly detailed. I kind of just want to keep it. Instead, I am going to remove this building and this is where the subway is going to go. And what I will do, but more in the future, I'm going to be turning maybe like this section of the block, we'll turn this into some sort of nice walkable and high density type of area with some commercial down below and some nice big tall apartment buildings that will sit up top. I'm gonna do just a couple just for now. All right, I'm gonna pull myself away from this because this is a whole other rabbit hole. But do you know what I mean? I'm gonna build this into some sort of nice little walkable area, something of a refurb of a block that was probably not used as well as something like this. And this was something that was built maybe at a similar time to the subway. And I think that this would be pretty nice. I reckon the same thing might happen to this section as well, and maybe even this whole area. For me though, I'm going to just place those two buildings, really half-assing it, and I'll just connect up our new subway network, and that should encourage people to use this a little bit better. I know that we are pretty much asking people to cut across this road in order to use our network to its full potential, but I guess we are building an American city here, so maybe that is fairly realistic. You know what? Just the one stop. I know that is I'm very much underusing our subway network, but I just feel like I can't justify a trip that is so small. You know, this is not a big downtown, so I reckon just the one is going to be just fine. And that is going to be the extent of the network, at least for now. We have the grey line, which is only grey at the moment because I much prefer the color of the trains like that. The grey line is making it stop at this little custom station that we made that is just above ground. It's gonna snake its way all the way through, goes underground, stops at Central Station, and then crosses the bay, crosses the river, whatever you call this thing, and then it's going to connect up to our downtown. And that is it, 3 stations, at least for now. And then the green line is connecting up the financial district, it goes over to Florence, it connects up to the downtown New Dimesburg, connects to Central Station, and then goes back over and connects to our downtown. Okay, a loop would make a lot of sense. Like, really would. If I just did a little loop like this, that would serve this a whole lot better. But in my mind, and I know this is like really silly, but I like the idea of doing this in stages. And even though it would be so much easier just to have a full loop so that these trains could actually just go from this section over through here and we'd be able to serve everybody a whole lot better. In my mind, I just need to do this in slow stages. How's it working though? That is a good question. Let's have a little look. Okay, fair few people using it, but let's just speed through a little bit of time and let's see how much this changes. Okay, that's enough time, and I have to say, not a huge amount of people are using this. I reckon we just crank up. Let's crank this up. But I reckon we need to give the game just a little bit of time until that effect takes place. What I do want to have a little look at is just see how people are using our stations. And that's the other thing. I don't want to see these places absolutely jam-packed, but I do think that the usage could be just a smidge more. But yeah, I mean, just look at all the people down here. It is very lovely. I feel like people are using this really well. And seeing people actually make the journey through the building too just makes me incredibly happy. I want to make just a couple of quick changes because it is a little bit grey and a little bit dreary. So I'm going to click on just this one building, and I reckon we can probably change maybe not that corner, maybe this corner. And you know what? Just that. I think just that red is all we really need. One more thing that I want to add though is I reckon we might be able to get some graffiti on these walls. Or maybe just poking a little bit through there. Just a little bit of color. They don't quite snap properly. I think you just got to find the right angle. Oh, yang, you cheeky little bugger. Yeah, unfortunately you can't really get it on those walls. Just some walls don't really work with the graffiti. Oh, this one does though. We got a Sully down there. We'll put an Alpha. Oh, this is good. Okay, maybe a little overboard, but I feel like it adds just a little bit more atmosphere down here. Just a bit more color too, which is always pretty nice. But people are using this. I feel like that's a thumbnail right there. This one has slowed down. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's definitely slowed down quite a lot. Oh, and here's a whole bunch of people just rocked up and just flooded our subway, which is pretty cool. A line rail just popped up, and I think that really encouraged people to use the subway, which is pretty cool. So I think that this is just going to take some time, and I'll just continue to keep an eye on it. But it's definitely getting a little bit more usage, which is pretty cool. Interestingly, I am seeing tons more people using our tram line, our light rail, which I really didn't see many people using it before. This was at like 2% or something, and there was like 15 people on each train. So really not a huge amount, but we are seeing a big increase since installing that mod. So I don't know if that's the connection to the subway or whether or not that mod has just increased the passengers. Now it's completely decreased. So pretty interesting. I'm going to continue to keep an eye on it, and we'll see if we can make any tweaks anywhere. I am seeing a whole lot more people using this network, all of our networks, in fact, and it's really lovely to see. And I do feel like it has something to do with the mod, discouraging people from walking as much, even though we are seeing a whole bunch of people walk between the two stations. But I have to admit, I really love that people are using this connection here. Once again, they are walking along a big strode, and it is probably not great, but it's probably a little bit realistic, right? I'm really loving that. And I feel like Florence, out of all the places that we built up today, is gonna see a pretty big boom, and I feel like is the most exciting because I like the idea that we're gonna redevelop this up and you know, maybe change this. I don't know if you guys would be into it. I'm personally a bit attached to a little junkyard, but I don't know, maybe it is the sort of area that does get redeveloped I'll let you guys decide that. But I'm really happy to see more people using our light rail. That is a bit of a surprise, as there is a fair few people using our subway too, which is really lovely. So all in all, I think that this has been a pretty successful build, even though I feel like it's taken a completely different turn to what I expected to build today. I know I said at the beginning that I had a pretty good idea what I was going to build. I really did, but this is definitely not what I had planned. And this is especially not what I had planned, and this will be the focus for the next episode, which I'm pretty keen to record, and I'm just gonna probably just dive straight into it and do it now. So, with that being said, I'm gonna say see you later. Big thank you all for watching today's episode. I am really looking forward to the next one, and I want to give a special shout out to my beloved patrons making videos like this possible: Riley Callahan, Ryan, Geordie, Thompson Applin, John Reed, Rixo12, Christopher Wren, Damon Cooper, Nick Surfleen, and Adam Evans. Cheers guys, see you all in the next one.